An alarm won't stop ringing inside a small house in Newfoundland. A teenage girl follows it into her mother's room and finds the bed empty. But the phone, the purse, the coat, the passport, and the car keys are all still there. Everything a woman would take if she chose to leave is left behind. Only Jennifer Hillier-Penney is gone. 7 years pass before anyone is arrested. And the way this case finally breaks open, on a boat, on the exact anniversary of the night she vanished, is unlike almost anything else in Canadian investigative history. Subscribe now, because you'll want to see exactly how that boat connects back to this bedroom. Jennifer grew up in a remote coastal community on Newfoundland's Great Northern Peninsula, one of 7 children in a close, warm household. She met Dean Penney in high school, and he became her husband, the father of her 2 daughters, and for most of her adult life, the person closest to her. They settled into a house on a quiet street. She worked at the local hospital. She wasn't a public figure. She was the kind of person who shows up for her shift and checks on her aging father. When investigators later asked around town, nobody could name a single enemy she had. By 2016, after 18 years of marriage, Jennifer had stopped loving her husband, and she wasn't just thinking about leaving, she was building her way out. That same year, her mother died, and while she quietly grieved, she was also consulting a lawyer, moving in with her father, and job hunting near her eldest daughter. This wasn't a woman drifting through a hard year. This was a woman working a plan, one deliberate step at a time, even as everything else in her life was falling apart around her. As the separation moved forward, fear moved with it. Dean reportedly began appearing near her workplace, timed to her shifts. He grew suspicious she was seeing someone else, when most of her communication was actually with lawyers. Jennifer's fear became serious enough that she and her friends built an informal check-in system, regular calls and texts, just so someone always knew she was safe. 2 weeks before she disappeared, she changed her life insurance beneficiary, removing her husband and naming her 2 daughters instead. That single decision would later be seen as one of the clearest signals of all. Then came one last arrangement, small enough that nobody thought twice about it. Dean planned a hunting trip to a cabin nearby, and their younger daughter wanted to stay at the family house for school. Jennifer agreed to stay overnight there, reluctantly, only because Dean was supposed to be away. On November 30th, she worked, had dinner at her father's, and drove her sister to an appointment. That evening, she texted her daughter that she wasn't feeling well and was going to bed. Her daughter came home late, crossed paths with Dean, who said he'd returned for forgotten hunting decoys, and never opened her mother's closed bedroom door. Morning came, and the alarm that opened this story started ringing, and now you know exactly what it meant. No forced entry, no struggle. A search dog that couldn't pick up a trail leading away from the house. It would take a full week before police even treated the property as a crime scene, by which point friends, family, and volunteers had already moved through it. If you've made it this far, drop "still here" in the comments, because what happens next took the RCMP nearly a decade to pull off. Years passed with no arrest and no body. Behind that public silence, something else was quietly taking shape. In 2019, an undercover officer made contact with Dean, posing as someone interested in renting his cabin, the opening move in one of the largest undercover operations in the province's history. Over 4 years, roughly 100 RCMP personnel helped build an entire fictional criminal organization around him. Money, travel, protection from police trouble. All while a man struggling financially in real life was pulled deeper into a world that looked nothing like his own. It all built toward one meeting, aboard a yacht in a Vancouver marina on November 30th, 2023. the exact 7th anniversary of the night Jennifer disappeared. Confronted with a fabricated document suggesting his imminent arrest, Dean gave his first account. Entering the house for his decoys, a confrontation near the stairs, a push, a fall, a decision to hide her body and dispose of it at sea. In a later recording, the account grew worse. He described striking her repeatedly after she fell, turning the story from a cover-up into a deliberate killing. Dean was arrested 2 weeks later and charged with first-degree murder. His trial began in 2026, nearly a decade after Jennifer vanished. The Crown leaned on the timeline of the separation and the 2 undercover confessions to build its case. Dean testified those confessions were a performance for men he believed were dangerous criminals. The jury asked to re-watch the recordings and asked the judge to define coercion before reaching a verdict. On May 24, 2026, they found him guilty of first-degree murder, a mandatory life sentence with no parole eligibility for 25 years. Despite multiple underwater searches based on Dean's own description, Jennifer's body has never been found. She didn't disappear during a moment of doubt. She disappeared while actively, methodically, building her way out. Her family is still waiting for her, and for whatever truth her husband still hasn't told. His sentencing is still to come, and the search for Jennifer isn't over. Subscribe now so you don't miss it when either one finally gets answered.